Today's lesson is on a GNAW sheet for slope-intercept equations. GNAW is an acronym and it stands for graphical, numerical, algebraic, and words. And what they're asking us to do, or what we're going to be able to do with this sheet, is to describe a slope-intercept equation 4 different ways and give 4 different pieces of information, or show information from different aspects. Okay, so let's look at the directions. It says, given the information below, complete each section that describes the same line 4 different ways. Well, one thing I do notice here is that they give us the equation there, y equals 2/5 x minus 4. They give us a table of values here, but no other information. In the algebraic, they say prove 1 point in the table is a solution, so we'll be picking 1 point from this table. And then in the words, it says describe the line using sentences. Your description should include slope, starting point, solutions, x-intercept, and y-intercept. So I see that we have x-intercept and y-intercept here, slope here. We have an m here. Oh, the m stands for slope. We have a b here. The b is your y-intercept. We'll be able to do that. So I'm going to start with the equation and graph. So as I always start is I look at the equation and I figure out what is my m, what's my slope. Well, the m is always the number that's being multiplied by your x, 2/5. And the -4 is your y-intercept, but I'm going to put it as a set of coordinates, 0, -4. And then I'm going to plot the line. So we start at the origin, we go down 4 units because that's where the y-intercept is, and then we're going to follow the slope to the next set of coordinates. So up to 5 to the right, because they're both positive. Positive 2 up to 5 to the right, positive 10. And then what we can do is instead of going up to and right 5, we could also go in the opposite direction, so down 2 and left 5. And then we could also go down 2 and left 5 again. And then these are the coordinates, or the points that could be on the line. I'm going to take out my graphing tool right now, which is a Subway gift card. There. And then I'm going to just label the points here. So I have a -10 and -8. I have a -5 and -6. I have a 0 and -4. I have a 5 and a -2, and then I have a 10 and 0. And now we're going to go over to the numerical value. I could, if we're not sure how to graph this line, what I could do is I could always fill in values here. And for what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my equation, y equals 2/5 x minus 4, and I'm going to plug in some x values. One thing I notice is that I do have a fraction here, 2/5. And if I want these numbers to become whole numbers, I have to select numbers that are divisible by 5. So -5, 0, 5, and 10. And I'll just plug these in. So y equals positive 2/5 times a -5 minus 4. Well, 2/5 times a -5, the reason why we picked these is because they cancel out. So -5 and 5 are going to cancel out, and you would be replaced with a -1. So y equals -2, because 2 times a -1 is -2, minus 4. Y equals -6. So when you have a -5, the y value is -6 on this point. And if you go back here to our graphed line, you'll notice that that point's already on there. And we could do this for 0, 5, and 10, but since we already graphed line over here, I know that when x is 0, y is -4. When x is positive 5, y is -2. And when x is positive 10, y is 0. But you could plug in all these different values. So is this table linear? Yes, it is, because linear means it's a straight line and all those points are on the straight line. The other way you could figure out if it's linear is, does it have a constant rate of change by adding or subtracting? So -6 to -4, you add 2, -4 to -2, you add 2, -2 to 0, you add 2. So you're always adding 2. And then negative 5 to 0 to 5, and 5 to 10, you are adding 5. So that turns into our slope, our rate of change, the y's over the x's. So positive 2 over positive 5. But we already knew our slope over here from our original equation was 2/5. Let's see if I can make this a little bigger for you guys. Let's see if that helps. The x-intercept. The x-intercept, the definition is when the line crosses the x-axis. So the line crosses the x-axis right there, 10, 0. The other part of the definition, if you're just looking at a table of values, is when the y value is 0, because that would be on the x-axis. So 10, 0 would be your x-intercept. The y-intercept is when the x value is 0, 0, negative 4. The other definition of that is when the line crosses the y-axis, which would be that point right there. In the algebraic section, it says prove one point in the table as a solution. I am going to pick the easiest point, which is always the y-intercept, and I'll show you why. And what you do is you take these values and you substitute them into our equation. So our equation is y equals 2/5 x minus 4. And then we're going to substitute them in. So we take our negative 4 and we substitute it in for y. We take our 0 and we substitute it in for x. So you get negative 4 is equal to, what's 2/5 times 0 would be 0 minus 4. So negative 4 is equal to negative 4. And when the left side equals the right side, we know that that point is on the line. So we've proven that a point is from the table is on the line because the left side equals the right side. We've graphed it and we've gotten all of our points from this. Now we're just going to write a couple of sentences that describe the line. So let's do slope and y-intercept because those two go together pretty well. So the line represented by the equation y equals 2/5 x minus 4 has a slope of 2/5 and a y-intercept of 0, negative 4. The x-intercept is 10, 0. Pretty basic. So we've used y-intercept, we've used x-intercept, we've used slope. The starting point is the y-intercept, and solutions. How many solutions did we have on our graphed line over here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you could write down the graphed line had 5 solutions. Because solutions are points on that graph line. And if you wanted to, you could list them. Negative 10, negative 8, negative 5, negative 2. You should always put parentheses around. Negative 5, negative 6. 0, negative 4. Positive 5, negative 2. And 10, 0. So that's the way that you do a GNAW sheet to describe, in this case, a slope-intercept equation, and you show 4 different ways of information. I hope this was easy to understand. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and have a good day.